Welcome to Cloud.Nine on ACTN, The Voice. I am Sheldon Yearwood. Thank you, oh my gosh, for joining us. What a wonderful day indeed. And you know, the power of one's testimony is truly timeless. Testify and shame the devil. But of course, many of us walk around with our heads bowed in shame, not understanding the power that we have. I was looking at that video, and some of the characters were writing with spray painting on the wall, and one of them actually put "I'm loaded," and I found that very interesting because sometimes we feel empty inside and we feel as if there's nothing inside of us to hold us and to keep us. And God is saying that we are loaded, but we just don't even know it. The power is right there in our hands, but we walk around begging as if we do not know who our Father in heaven is. So really truly understand who you are and understand that you are loaded. Everything that you are, that you're meant to be, is already inside of you. You just have to allow the voice of God to speak into you, and of course you need to speak what is there, what is already inside of you, and bring it forth. So this is Timeless Tuesday. We're discussing many issues today. I mentioned to you yesterday about the press conference with the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. And in just a few minutes, we're going to bring for you the Q&A that came out of that press conference yesterday evening. For those of who didn't get a chance to see it, it got pretty heated coming down to the end. So what I'm going to do, first of all, we're going to be discussing this in our Wise Up segment today. So we're going to bring it up a little earlier. And then in our Let's Chat segment, we're going to bring you part 2 of those street interviews that were done in Penal, where we were asking the question about the possibility of what would be the outcome out there, what they believe will be the outcome of an election, if it were to be called tomorrow, if they believe that the now opposition leader has what it takes to regain the reins of power. Of course, after the missteps of the then PP, and then the internal rumblings that she had to deal with and quell some unruly stomachs, if you want to call it that, within the party. And again, you're going to see that there was a split, even though Penal is considered one of the major strongholds for the United National Congress. But first, it's a lot today. Let's go to our Wise Up segment. We discuss the ship, the boat. So many years ago, when TCB was in style and everybody was curling up their hair and thing, a particular calypsonian by the name of Gypsy turned Minister of Multiculturalism. Yeah, I know it's a winded word even today. Then, of course, in the calypso world, he sang a song, which is so interesting in the era that he sang that song and who he was singing that song for. We have now this issue with the ferry and the controversy, and how it has literally crippled the activities in Tobago, and the people have expressed their discontent and concern as to how the central government has been handling the issue. You heard from Mr. Watson Duke yesterday. Just a couple months ago, they had an interview expressing some of their concerns, and yesterday the Prime Minister met with stakeholders surrounding this issue, and the media really brought some strong questions to the table. And of course, the song I'm referring to from Gypsy was "Captain, the Ship is Sinking." So we're asking the question today, based on what the Prime Minister said or his responses, is the ship sinking? Are we seeing more and more where there is going to be greater division between Trinidad and Tobago? It may it's a scary thought, but it might just be Trinidad and that other island, Tobago. That's not what we don't want. But that is the frightening reality that we're facing based on the discontent people are expressing. As a matter of fact, the general manager of the Tobago division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce said yesterday, Dan Haddad, has called Tobago the sacrificial lamb. It's amazing how we get all biblical. We want to get a strong point across anyhow, right? In the ongoing inter-island ferry fiasco, and as the country moves to clean up corruption. And you're seeing all these, some people saying that the meeting was a waste of time and all of that. So many, even Tobagonians have said it openly that they feel like the bastard child. So again, we don't want a situation where it's Trinidad, oh yeah, and that other island, yeah, Tobago. That is not it. I will just give you a quick overview of what the Prime Minister said, and then we're going to go straight to that clip. Let's get the article up, please, if we can. So these are the two articles in the newspaper today. Thank you very much, surrounding what came out of the meeting. As you're seeing, the stakeholders meeting reflected lack of care for Tobago, right? The other article here, Prime Minister, both deals don't look right. He expressed his concern. He said as head of the cabinet and government, this is what Mark Besant was asking him, as a matter of fact. As head of the cabinet and government, are you convinced that something has drastically gone wrong? And he said yes. The transport minister was there as well. But just to open it up, Dr. Rowley agreed that something crooked may have gone down with the procurement process, right? He was asked several questions, as I said. So right now, let us take you to the Q&A portion of this press conference that was held by the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley. And at the end of it, well, I'll give my synopsis on the whole saga.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Mark Besant, investigative journalist from CCN TV6 News. Just on the point of the ocean flower, I just wanted to find out, did Cabinet agree to lease these vessels, and on what basis? Who brought the note to Cabinet? When was this note brought to Cabinet? Did anyone presently at that meeting object? And can you present a copy or somebody of that lease to the media to see for approval? I'll start with that.
There are a lot of questions in there. Let me just back up and explain to you how this thing goes. There's a governance structure in this country. And if you don't observe the governance structure, that itself becomes another issue. At the level of the cabinet, there's a minister of transport appointed by the Prime Minister. As part of the portfolio of that minister is the Port Authority, Minister of Transport. The Port Authority falls under the Minister of Transport. That Port Authority is run by a board appointed by the cabinet, and that board utilizes the expertise of a management. So if you go from below, you have management reporting to the board reporting to the minister reporting to the cabinet, and cabinet taking a decision. Okay, let's go to the questions you asked me about what I can provide to you. I am not, as I sit here now, able to provide to you much of what you asked for because I don't really have those details in front of me. But I can tell you that the board would have been guided by its expertise. The board would have reported to the minister. At the level of the ministry, a cabinet note would have been prepared based on what would have been accomplished by the board, because the board will have to make a case to the minister, and the minister will have to make a case to the cabinet, because it requires cabinet approval for the ministry to authorize that a contract be entered into. All of that was done through a cabinet note which came to the cabinet identifying the vessel that would be contracted. That is what is normal, and that is what has happened in this situation.
So, which brings me to my next question.
If you could ask the question, Don't ask 10 at a time,
Fair
right?
enough.
Because otherwise, we might lose the answers to a few important ones.
Fair enough, Dr. Rowley. What basis were the rental fees determined and by whom in respect to the ocean
The
flower
rental
tree?
fees would have been determined by the port, which would have been guided by the business of the port, involving the port's management, the supplier of the service, and the authority of the port. That would be dealt with at the level of the port.
And what was the specifications required by the suppliers?
I couldn't answer that at this point in time. And again, that would have been a matter dealt with at the port. That would have been the business of the port, dealt with by a board at the port dealing with its management.
And on what basis was Bridgman's contracted, and what was their initial involvement with the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago?
I couldn't answer that question now because a part of that question we're still finding out, and that is why that's one of the. You would have observed that I've asked a one-man investigator to go to the port and see what is available there to answer that question. That is one of the questions that I, as Prime Minister, am trying to get an answer to, and that would be related to the Cabinet.
Dr. Rowley, do you see a conflict of interest with Cabinet appointing an investigator to review a decision that the Cabinet itself made?
I don't know of any other person who could have appointed it if the Cabinet wants to proceed, because the Cabinet has certain actions to take. The Prime Minister has certain actions to take. And if one wants to take action based on pertinent information, then I don't know that the authority of the Cabinet is circumscribed.
Do you see a conflict of interest with the Port Authority investigating itself?
I don't know that the port is investigating itself. I do know that if something went wrong on the port or in any management structure, that the management of such an organization would want to find out what went on.
So who are the owners of the vessels that have been contracted, i.e. Trinidad Bridgmans Limited, that was awarded this contract to lease these vessels? Have you all been able to find that out as yet?
At the level of the Cabinet, the information we have at this point in time is that the port contracted a company called Bridgman. That is, a lot has been said about Bridgman. We don't have any additional information at this time, but insofar as the operations were, the Port Authority contracted a company that owned a vessel that was available, and that is how they got.
Well, based on the information that would have been given to you, sir, was there any negotiations, and with who were involved and by whom? And who
I could not answer that question because that matter did not come to the Cabinet as to who negotiated with whom. The business of the port would have gone to the ministry. The ministry would have brought a note to the Cabinet outlining what has been accomplished at the port. A vessel was sought, meeting certain specifications, and so on and so on and so on. But the details as to who talked to whom, that wouldn't have come to the Cabinet.
And who conducted the site visit previous to the lease being signed and to verify that the vessels met with the specifications?
I'm afraid I don't have that information, not being the minister responsible for the port, and I'm sure that those are questions that you can put to the port. I don't have that information at that specificity of personalities.
So you don't know when it was done and when the visit
Those
took place?
details I would not have, but I'm sure if you put such a question to somebody at the port, whether it is management or board, you might be able to get that kind of answer there. I don't have that information.
Dr. Rowley, as the head of the country and the Cabinet, are you convinced that something has drastically gone wrong and is crooked in this transaction?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the findings of the Dun & Bradstreet report that the Port Authority has not, to this day, been able to give the public what due diligence was done in conducting a background check on the specific company, Bridgman Services LP? They have not been able to do so. Have you been speaking with your line minister to find out where that is? Because they certainly have found after almost 7 weeks that there was something definitely wrong with the procurement and the evaluation when it was being reported in the media for quite some time.
I just answered that question. I said yes. My yes means a lot to me.
Do you think that the Port Authority ignored the findings of the reports which should have been highlighted in this respect?
I don't have that information, and I don't know that I could come to that conclusion. But I'm sure that the appropriate investigation or investigations can clarify those for us.
Just 2 more questions. If you know the answers to these, how much money was awarded, spent on the individual leases in respect to the 2 vessels?
I don't have the exact figure in front of me, but I don't know the full details of that. But when it came to the cabinet, the figures, I seem to recall, you mean the day rate?
Not the day rate, but just the overall, the contract, and I guess
No, I don't have that information in front of me.
So can you even say what was the cost of the state leasing these vessels, including money spent in discussions, negotiations, lawyers' fees?
I don't have that information. That is left as a matter for the port and the port board and the ministry, of course. These are separate up. But you must understand that these responsibilities lie at different places. What the port does in terms of spending money at that level in that way doesn't come to the Prime Minister office or the cabinet. There's a port authority, a statutory body under law with a board appointed to do that. So that detail, I'm sure, again, if you ask that question at the level of the port, you'll get an appropriate answer.
I've been asking for quite a while, Dr. Rowley, and I've still not gotten an answer. That's why I sought asking.
Well, as I said, the appropriate investigation or investigations would most certainly clarify those matters.
And is there a legal fee or finder's fee due to be paid in this matter? And if so, to whom and how much, and when was that has that amount been reviewed?
While that question is a very pertinent question, I do not have that information. And again, the necessary investigations will determine that.
Okay, I think that's it.
Prime Minister, good afternoon. I'm Andy
Good afternoon,
Johnson.
Andy Johnson.
I've been speaking with a number of stakeholders.
After Mark's question, you sure you have a question?
Yes, I do. In fact, this big that I've been speaking with stakeholders in Tobago on this issue over the last couple of weeks, and those with whom I spoke over the weekend said that they were going to be coming here hoping to get some assurances. They were going to put some demands on the table and get some assurances of improvements in the services. In coming into the room moments ago, several of them with whom I touched base on the way out, on their way out, said that they considered this meeting a waste of their time. How do you respond to that? And what can you say about the discussions as to have sought to provide any comfort to them?
I can only speak for myself and for those who spoke in this room that they had a very valuable experience. Because a lot of issues were raised, and interestingly enough, I may tell you, a lot of issues not relating to the ferry service were raised in this room this afternoon. And those issues, many of them do not have today's answer for today. For example, one of the issues they raised, in fact, one of the first issues raised this afternoon was the effect of the licensing on property purchase in Tobago, on the reduction in values in Tobago, and the effect that was having on property owners being able to finance their borrowings to keep their businesses going. Now that surprised me. I didn't expect that to be question number 1 today, but it was, and we discussed it at length. And there were a lot of operational issues that were raised, and we discussed them, and we have quite a few solutions coming up, which were raised here and which found favor. So I have no doubt that there might be voices, and if any person felt that they wasted their time, well then I didn't think I wasted my time. As a matter of fact, I was very happy that I came here and met with all those business people who are trying to make a living in Tobago. And in this room, there were quite a number of them who expressed an interest that we came here today and we did focus on the matters that of interest to them.
PM, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
I have probably a dozen questions that I hope you can answer.
No, don't ask me a dozen questions at the same time. I might...
No, I'll ask them one at a time.
Just ask them one at a time and let's see if we can get through. I don't think you should ask me a dozen questions on any one day. There are other people who might have an opportunity to ask a question, so you ask a couple of questions and we go on to somebody else. But let's try.
The report from the one-man commission that was initiated, will the findings of that report be made public at any time?
I have no doubt that it will be.
Okay. The current situation, would you describe it as a crisis? And if so, why the 9-day gap between the invitation to the meeting and the meeting actually taking place?
Why the what?
The gap between the invitation to this meeting and the actual meeting itself taking place.
I'm not sure, what? So I sent you an invitation 9 days ago for today's meeting, and you're asking me a question on that?
It was a crisis.
Wait a minute. You have valuable question time. Let's get to something serious now, man.
Okay. The issues with respect to the Cabo Star, what exactly is being done to remedy those issues and how soon those will be rectified?
Well, some of those issues came up today about the scheduling. That to me, for me, the most pertinent question that was raised today was the scheduling of the vessel, so as to allow Tobagonians who travel between Trinidad and Tobago to make best use of the service. And that is a matter which the port will have to address, so that the vessel, while it is on the service, can be maximized. And it all has to do with when the vessel leaves Port of Spain and when it leaves Tobago and so on. And these are operational issues which I propose to raise. And the minister is here, and the minister would have heard that, and I'm sure he and the port board and so on, and the Tobagonians would work that out. That's an operational issue.
And what about the issue of the roaches and the rats and the...
And the mites.
Yes.
Those are operational issues that can be dealt with and are dealt with all the time on vessels. Fumigation, management and so on, rats on boats. You don't sink the boat for a rat on the boat, you go and kill the mice. You kill the mice and you fumigate the boat. These are operational issues, and we are expecting that the Port Authority and the owners will deal with those issues so that they can be comfort on the vessel.
Can you shed some light on when exactly the TNT Spirit will return to service, along with the TNT Flash, the Trinity Flash, sorry?
I would leave that for the Minister of Works and the port to answer. The most important thing is that the Express is due to go on dry dock.
Right. So will the Spirit return before the Express goes?
I don't know. I don't think so.
What would happen when the Express goes?
Well, that's a difficult situation that we have to deal with, because if the Express goes while the Spirit is still on dry dock, then we don't have any government vessel. The port is moving apace to have a vessel in place before the Express goes on dry dock. That is the situation we try to accomplish. And if that is not accomplished, then well, the Express may have to, we don't want to miss the dry dock slot, because that slot is already overdue. So that is a situation we are facing, that the two vessels, the Express and the Spirit, had not been dry docked for a long time, and their requirement for dry dock is getting more and more critical.
The inspection of the floor that was done this month, why did that not take place before it was actually agreed to bring the vessel to this country?
I don't know.
Why was Leon Grant suspended from the port?
I think the port suspended Mr. Grant and issued a public statement, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Okay. And my final question with respect to the hospitality workers on the fast ferry. They would have written to you since May about their circumstances.
Hospitality workers on the ferry?
The persons who serve the food and help to keep the fast ferries clean and so forth. And they normally dress in black and white.
And they wrote to me?
They wrote to you in May, highlighting some issues that they had with respect to the SWWTU and seeking your intervention.
They're seeking my intervention with the SWWTU?
Yes.
And they're the workers hired by the SWWTU?
There's an apparent conflict of interest that they are seeing. And the treatment that they are meted out with is not the best. They have tried to remediate before, and they met with no success, and so they were asking for the intervention of both the Prime Minister, the Minister of Labor, and a third person whose name escapes me at this point in time. But there were 3 letters sent out.
I can't say that I saw that letter, but what you're raising there is a very interesting development, that the workers are complaining against their employer, which is the union.
Yes. The union has the
Oh my God. Life is a stage and we are the actors. Anyhow, it is evident as a leader, you don't micromanage. So it is quite understandable, it's understandably so, that when the Prime Minister makes a reference to the point that at the end of the day, there's an organized structure that takes place and certain roles and functions are designated, and the Prime Minister cannot do, of course, everything. But at the end of the day, he is still the umbrella that protects the interest of the people and even protects the interest of his cabinet from getting quote-unquote wet. What we see happening here, this is where people are getting a little frustrated, and this is the other side of the coin when you flip it. A lot of the issues from what the Prime Minister stated is as a result of the discrepancies at the port or the unanswered questions from the Port Authority as highlighted by Mark Besant. So therefore, it is, now we know it's under investigation, so obviously certain things will not be divulged. However, being that the Port Authority or the port has such an integral interest in this whole investigation, and many of the unanswered questions is a result of the port and the minister, then therefore one would have probably hoped, or maybe the public hoped, that a member of the Port Authority board would have been present to answer some of the questions that were thrown at the Prime Minister. And that was not the case. And of course, the Prime Minister, he more or less shouldered the bulk of the questions, and many of those questions were not answered. So therefore, that is the one thing that jumped out at me. It should have had at least a member of the Port Authority board, or maybe the chairman himself, there to address some of the questions that were asked, because none of these issues that we heard today, well, heard yesterday and you're hearing now, are strange in context of this whole issue surrounding the sea bridge. So that is why you found that there are some people who were saying that the meeting seemed to be a waste of time because many of the issues they believe are not addressed. And it is based on what was said, it would seem as though because there was this gap of not having certain key individuals who would have some of the answers there to answer the media and, present some clarity for members of the public. So that I believe was the forepaw there. I mean, yes, they will go back to the argument that it's under investigation. We know that. But there would be some sense of peace, I know for a fact, if someone from the port was there to buffer some of these questions. So we will, I'm sure there are going to be more responses, including I wait to hear from Mr. Watson Duke with bated breath and to his response to this whole situation and in detail. So again, we continue to pray for Trinidad and Tobago and really hoping that this situation is resolved quickly. You can, of course, read the papers today and you're going to see more, of course, during the week as people respond, in particular the business community, to this latest development with the investigation. Let's take a break. When we come back, we switch our gears now to a different, just a different area of politics on Cloud.Nine on ACTN.
The devil's the accuser of the brethren. And he hates marriage because marriage is the image of God. He hates marriage because it's the most sacred institution on earth. God created marriage in Genesis chapter 1. It is the first institution he ever created, and it's the foundation for every other institution on earth. And he's a strategist. He understands if he can destroy marriage, he can destroy all of society.
All right, welcome back to Cloud.Nine on ACTN, the voice, only show to make you smile even when you're feeling down. Yes. So yesterday we started off with part one of our interview in Pinal, where we addressed a valid concern in light of the, how should I say, the scare that many people have been experiencing in this country in terms of our economy. Many have expressed their concern with well, what they are saying is the mismanagement of the country, the poor governance in some areas, some have been saying. It is a claim and a title that the former Prime Minister also had, and of course that is why she's now in the opposition. So, and then there was the internal rumblings, and, people have been saying, listen, to the leader of the opposition, focus more time on rebuilding the party. You understand? And less time on, trying to highlight the missteps. Others are saying, listen, she has to do what she has to do to highlight the flaws, and she has been doing her best to rebuild the image of the party. So we went to Pinal and we spoke to some individuals, and some said, yes, she is ready, the party is ready, people are ready to put her back into the reign of power. Others are saying, too soon. What are you saying? Well, this is part two of those interviews, and it got even more interesting. Enjoy. Let's go to our Let's Chat segment. All right, so basically this is it. Forgive and forget? Well, this is what the people in Pinal had to say. All right, so we are in the heart of the Pinal area. This is the constituency of the leader of the opposition, Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar. And there have been concerns by even UNC supporters in the context of if enough was done to rebuild and reshape and remold the party for a next general election. As you know, there were a lot of internal rumblings and issues that had to be worked out. And so the question we're asking today, do you believe that enough has been done to rebuild the image of the party? Let's say an election were to be called tomorrow. That's the question.
Well, the party's supposed to at least hold a couple of meetings. I don't know if they're holding any, and I didn't know about it. To talk about it, getting back into government.
So as for your reality, you've not been hearing anything?
I've not been hearing anything, so I don't know.
All right, thank you very much for your honesty. All right. How are you doing, sir? Okay. You're good? Yeah. I'm going to come by this, who's by this man here. The short time you had a...
Oh, yeah, you had a short.
My foot. Right. You're asking the question. Do you think the UNC has done enough to rebuild the image of the party? That if an election be called tomorrow, people are willing to forgive and give her another chance to lead this country?
Yes, the UNC did enough to build this country. This government, no progress.
So despite what has happened, people are willing to forgive and say, you know what, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, come back, run the country, please.
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
She has compassion for country. She have what it takes to run country. The people who looking to probably, put you out of that is because they're looking just for the thing they call power.
That's, of course, those within the party itself.
Yes. I think she is the rightful person for that position. That's just my take on that.
The previous government. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but you see, she had the years of experience. She was there from a long time, passed through when there was down. There was always an opposition with them. And so she passed through all them things, and then now she know what it is like. So she have always a better chance.
Do you believe that she has learned from her missteps and that she should be given another chance?
Exactly. Yeah. Because you have sympathy towards the people and in this country.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a wonderful day. God bless you, man. I cross the road by Dave. You're going to see if Dave going and talk to us. All right. No bongs, uncle. Thank you. Let's go by Dave. I hear you. Good morning. What's it? I'm going by Dave's. What is Dave's? Flash, the man say flash his table. I'm going by Dave's Cafe. How are you going, Dave? Good morning. I am from, you coming by here too? Good morning, Dave. You're Dave, right? How are you going, Dave? So here the Dave Day. So Dave Day, right. So Dave, here the question this morning. If an election were to be called tomorrow, do you believe that the UNC would have done enough to rebuild the image of the party and they can go in and be victorious to lead the party for another 5 years?
For me? Yeah. Me can't answer that way. But that is the same thing we want to answer. Same khaki pants.
Same khaki pants. Some saying same.
Yeah. Same boat. Yeah, rowing down the same thing. Only fooling one another.
Row your boat.
Yeah.
On the stream.
Merrily.
Life is but a nightmare, dream. All right, cool.
I will go tell you. Rowley, raise rice and flour and drop pension money. Right? Good? If he in business, can I go take his business? That's what we have to business.
Short and sweet. Handle your business. Yeah, handle your business. All right.
Well, all I gotta say, like,
say whatever on your heart, man.
Yeah. Right now the country reached nothing, so you know what can happen to now.
So do you have faith in any one of them in terms of UNC, PNF?
My girl, because remember she's a South girl. Yeah. That's my girl. I went say no, that's my girl. Kamala is my girl. Yeah. I went go against she.
So you're back in South.
Yeah, that's South.
You're back in South.
Yeah, that's South.
All right, man.
Oh, good. The Lord in your heart.
Oh, good. Jesus.
Everything.
Hallelujah. Bless the Lord.
I'm
Tell
so blessed.
Amen. Hey, I like her spirit. Oh, Jesus. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
How you going? So here the question you want to ask today. After the truck pass. Nice.
Yeah,
oh, good. Now, this is the child of the Lord. Bless. Thank you. If an election were to be called today, do you believe the UNC would have, let's just say, rebuilt their image enough to actually lead for another 5 years?
Another 5 years, yes. Actually, I don't argue politics or religion, but if the UNC should rule for the next 5 years, I think they could handle it because they handled it before.
Do you think that the then Prime Minister would have learned from her mistakes and the public is willing to give her another chance?
Everybody will learn from their mistakes. When you forgive, God will forgive you. Amen, yes.
See, that is a true believer. And she let me share umbrella. I'm feeling so nice. Thank you so very much.
This politician and them that have race and grudge against each other. And when you say something, it could be a problem in your life.
You are saying there are too many issues of race and
right.
On both sides.
Yeah, both sides have, but South is South. You understand? South is South.
All right, I kind of understand the response and I respect it. It's a very good response.
South, you know where I'm coming from.
Definitely.
Where you think I'm going.
Deal with the issues at the top. They're willing to support, but deal with the issues at the top. That is what I'm hearing here. Willing to support, deal with the issues on both sides. All right?
Well, you know what? People should have give the UNC a chance again to see what they could do again.
You mean this last election, yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
They could give them another chance.
So you believe that people should now forgive and give them another 5 years if an election is called?
So what they was doing, like building up the school and, you know, the roads, and then they go finish it out. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Pavement is yours again.
Yeah.
What is your reality? Why is your saying?
Because this previous government had doing nothing, and she did plenty. So we might have a chance of winning again.
Thank you very much. All right. Very well done.
I think people willing to give she a next chance, and knowing that in the past how things run for the last 2 years, plenty people under pressure. Plenty people are under pressure that they think we need something to be done better right now. Too much people have been laid off and jobs and all that, you know. And these times now, we really need something better, I think. All right. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I didn't say so. Everybody had their own way and doing their own thing.
All right. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's almost the same thing because of the fact that we had a prime minister before, we get a new one, and it's like getting worse.
So you went from what? From bad to worse?
Yeah.
Okay. And my brother there, let me get your responses.
Yeah, give she back out next 5 years, man.
Is she back? All right. So you're saying give another chance?
Yeah.
All right. So give another chance. One say bad to worse, next one say, yeah, a clever answer. He was like, nothing much I change. No. All right. Gentlemen, thank you. I want you to take a close look. Now, this particular stop here is for everyone who who don't come south often, or who make statements such as, once you pass the Carney Bridge is Venezuela, and south too far, and all of these various excuses, and who complaining that doubles is now $5, and they can't get doubles nowhere at a decent price. There you walk. So I want to show you something here. This here is for all my tongue folk. When last all you saw a place selling doubles for $2? Get that to know. When last? No, it's not an illusion. You're not seeing things. It is very real.
I think there'll be a lot of people that would still support her. Based on our experience, because we've seen dedication from her, we've seen progression from her, we've seen results. So I think a lot of people would support her.
And despite what would have happened with the UNC internally, you believe people still have faith in the UNC?
I believe that there are people that still have faith in both parties. In both parties. So at the end of the day, the country, the citizens want people who perform, who can perform well and who would serve the people. So once you're doing that, I think that is where the support will go.
You think that people saw some performance with the...
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And hey, keep it up. We went and sent everybody from Port of Spain down Penal. Nice. Thank you very much. You want to say something too? You sure? She bargained. I never see doubles bag so fast yet. You have a wonderful day, okay? God bless you. You in the back too. All right. Nice. Yay. Very good. There was a lady who was standing behind the guy in green. I remember yesterday when she said, if anybody bad talk camera is me and them, I swear if you didn't say the wrong thing in her eyes, he'd have collect a bag in the head, telling you. But anyhow, so clearly the favor is slanting on Kamala's side. Of course, there are a few, like about 4 or 5 from like about the 19 or so interview that said, you know what, they don't even know who to trust, and also they don't believe that she's ready. I will not ignore if I was the opposition leader, I will not ignore these few because we're going to continue asking that question in various areas, both PNM and UNC strongholds, and hear what people have to say. Because again, we don't want to take the discontent people have for both sides lightly. All right, so that's it. Thank you very much as all joining us on the show. We're going to close things off one time, and I do hope you have a blessed evening, and I'll see you tomorrow right here, God's willing, on Cloud.Nine. Keep on smiling, keep on shining. God loves you.